Alright, Reddit. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happened, so I might be a bit all over the place. But bear with me because I need your help to figure out if I'm totally out of line here. Am I the a-hole for crashing my brother's wedding reception after my dad and stepmom humiliated me in front of everyone? Let me take you back for a minute. I, 30 female, have been on the outs with my family for almost a decade now. I grew up in a small town in Arizona, always feeling like the odd one out. My mom was my rock, but she passed when I was 16. And after that, everything with my dad, Martin, 62, male, fell apart. He remarried quickly within a year to Cheryl, 55, female, a woman who, let's just say, never really liked me. She adored my younger brother, Reed, 28, male. But I was basically the black sheep, always doing my own thing and not following their narrow, respectable path. Things went south when I decided to pursue culinary school. My dad wanted me to join the military and have a real career. Me wanting to cook, yeah, that was a phase in their eyes. I was ungrateful and throwing my life away. So at 18, I packed my bags, left my family behind, and moved to San Diego. No big dramatic exit, just a quiet getaway from a family that never saw me for who I really was. The first few years were a grind. I started at the bottom washing dishes, working late nights in kitchens. It wasn't glamorous. But I learned, I grew, and along the way, I met Avery, 30 female, my now best friend and business partner. Together, we built a successful catering company. We're not just any catering service. We handle the high-end stuff. We cater to some of the most elite events in Southern California. But here's the thing. My family doesn't know any of this. They probably think I'm still just some line cooking in some mediocre kitchen. For my sanity, I've kept my work and them completely separate. For the last 8 years, there's no real contact. Some awkward social media likes here and there, but that's about it. So, you can imagine my surprise when out of nowhere I get an embossed invitation to Reed's wedding. It was at a country club in Scottsdale, a place that's way out of my family's usual league. I wasn't sure what to think, but a part of me, the naive part that still hoped for something, thought maybe it was an olive branch. Avery raised an eyebrow, but said she'd come with me for moral support. I righted. Yes. Then, of course, the entrepreneurial side of me couldn't resist. Our catering company works with a network of elite wedding planners, and one of them mentioned a big event in Scottsdale around the same time. I had Avery casually ask about it, and sure enough, it was Reed's wedding. They needed a top-tier caterer, and because we run our business under a fairly generic name with no personal connection to the owners, they didn't even know I was involved. The planner had no idea I was Reed's sister. It was the perfect opportunity to give my family a little taste of what they'd been missing out on. I booked the event. Now, let me be clear. Part of me did this because I knew the food would be amazing, and another part of me just really wanted to see my family eat my success without knowing it was me behind the scenes. Yeah, it was petty, but I didn't expect what happened next. So, fast forward to yesterday. Avery and I show up at the wedding looking good, dressed to impress. The second we walked in, I could feel the chill in the air. My dad gave me a stiff nod like I was a stranger. Cheryl's eyes rad over me, and I could practically hear her thoughts. They were definitely not welcoming. The whole night, I felt like a zoo exhibit. People kept whispering and staring, and all I could think was, well, at least the food is going to be great. Then, out of nowhere, my dad pulls me aside. At first, I thought maybe he just wanted to talk, but no. He launches into this full-blown rant. He tells me that my lifestyle choices are an embarrassment and that I'm a disgrace to the family name. It gets worse when Cheryl joins in, loudly mocking my line cook salary and how I probably had to take the bus to get here. They both made sure the whole room could hear their little show. And let me tell you, the humiliation was real. I stood there, completely floored. Here I was catering the damn wedding with my own company, and they were acting like I was some kind of failure. I didn't say a word. I just turned around and walked away. Avery, bless her, was right behind me. When we got outside, I lost it for a second. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, but I texted Avery. Full extraction. Now she knew exactly what I meant. We weren't just leaving the wedding. We were pulling the plug on the whole catering operation. I had my team pack up, every single tray of food, every bottle of wine, and they cleared out the venue. All 25 of my staff gone. The dinner service was supposed to start in minutes, but it never happened. I know. I know this is extreme, but they pushed me for years. And when they publicly humiliated me like that, I just couldn't take it anymore. I wasn't going to sit there and let them enjoy the fruits of my labor after everything they had put me through. So now I'm sitting in my hotel room, still on edge, trying to figure out if I'm the bad guy here. Red, I feel bad for him, but he stood by and let this happen. He's always been the golden boy, and I guess that's never changed. Reddit AITA for what I did, or did they push me to my breaking point? I honestly don't know anymore. What would you have done in my shoes? Positive comments. Yo, I got to say I'm all for the don't take crap from toxic family mentality. You had every right to stand up for yourself after they humiliated you like that. Honestly, they've been treating you like trash for years, and you still showed up to support your brother, so they got what was coming. I'd have done the same thing. Respect for building an empire on your own, and not letting them undermine your success. You were 100% justified. Negative comments. Okay, I get why you were mad, but seriously, you took it too far. It's one thing to distance yourself from toxic people, but to sabotage your brother's wedding just because your dad and stepmom were rude, that's not really a victory in my eyes. Yeah, they're trash. But Reed didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire. You made a scene and hurt innocent people just to prove a point, which just makes you look petty, not empowered. Update 1, a few hours later. Alright, so this whole thing has gotten way more attention than I expected. My inbox is a battlefield between NTA, YTA, and a lot of people sharing their own family nightmare stories. First off, shout out to the Not the Holes. I see you, and I appreciate the support. But for the YT is sorry, you weren't the one standing there being called a bus pass riding embarrassment by people who haven't done a damn thing for you in years. So yeah, this isn't exactly the apology post some of you might want, but here we are. It's been a few hours since I posted, and my phone is still buzzing. Not just from Reddit, either. After I sent that clear out text to Avery, she's a literal queen. By the way, seriously, I owe her a lifetime of pizza. We didn't just storm out like some dramatic movie scene. Avery's way too professional for that. She actually went back inside, not into the main area, but to coordinate with Khalil, our head chef, and Maya, our event manager, to make sure everything was handled quietly. Meanwhile, I stayed in the car trying to get my heart to stop feeling like it was trying to escape my chest. I felt this weird mix of, what did I just do? And hell yes, I did that all at once. I can't even explain it. Avery filled me in on the aftermath later. Apparently, it was a thing to watch. Khalil is ex-military, and he runs our catering logistics like a covert mission. The second we gave the signal, he and the crew started pulling out all the stops. No drama, no shouting, just pure military-level precision. They started moving like they were disarming a bomb. The appetizers that were ready to be served gone. The bread rolls that were stacked high vanished, and the cheese boards wiped out. They even started picking up all our glassware and silverware that was already on the tables, replacing them with nothing. Yeah, talk about a statement. Maya had the unfortunate job of telling Carol, the wedding planner, what was going down. She had to explain it as an unforeseen and hostile situation impacting the safety and dignity of our staff. Carol went pale. Avery said you could hear the beginning of a full-on meltdown from the main dining area when the guests realized their food was vanishing. The first sign I got that we had really hit the point of no return, a string of missed calls from an Arizona number, which I knew was Carol. Then Avery got a call from Maya, who was wrapping up the last van. Maya said you could hear the chaos from the parking lot. Guests were standing around confused, some starting to get hangry, and the bride's parents. Full-on panic mode. I guess the initial rumors started swirling pretty fast. According to Maya, the guests were speculating it was a sudden food poisoning scare, even though our food safety standards are top tier, or some sort of permit issue with the venue. The best part, no one suspected that it was the groom's shameful sister causing the stir. Why did I do it? Simple. My family's been treating me like dirt for years. They've never seen me as anything more than some failure. And that night, they didn't just insult me in private. They did it in front of everyone. They made fun of me for the line cook salary, which, yeah, hurt. But when they were about to sit down to a meal that probably cost more than Cheryl's last car, that was the moment I knew I couldn't just sit there and let them enjoy that. Not anymore. Avery just got off the phone with Carol, who, in her words, is freaking out but also strangely impressed by our boldness. Apparently, my dad's threatening to sue the catering company for breach of contract. He's demanding to know who the owner is. Carol, thankfully, is playing it cool for now, saying she can't give that info out, but she knows something is off. She told Avery, like, "This isn't normal. This feels personal. What happened?" Avery, being the absolute pro she has just said, "The family created an untenable situation for our staff. Here's the kicker. My dad has no clue that the embarrassment he just kicked out is actually the owner of the whole operation. That bomb is going to be spectacular when it lands." So Reddit, the immediate crisis is done and dusted, but the fallout is just beginning. What do I do when he inevitably figures out it's my company? Do I even pick up the phone if he finds my direct number and decides to try to yell at me? Part of me thinks I should send him an itemized bill for services rendered. I have to admit, there's a twisted part of me that's kind of enjoying the drama. It feels like everything I've been holding in for years is finally being paid back in one fell swoop. I've been underestimated, talked down to, and made to feel like I'm not worth anything. And that night, I took my power back. Not just for me, but for Avery, Khalil, and everyone else who's been treated like trash by my family. But now, the aftermath is real. I'm not sure how to navigate that. I already know my dad is probably going to have a huge meltdown when he finds out. Will he even acknowledge my company's success, or will he just brush it off like he always does? Honestly, I have no idea. But I'm bracing myself for the worst. I might need a drink before this whole thing unfolds. In the meantime, though, I'm looking for advice. Should I just let it go and let the chips fall where they may? Or do I need to gear up for what's coming and prepare to really deal with the fallout? At this point, I'm half expecting some sort of family intervention, or even an apology tour from my dad. But part of me wonders if he'll even care when he realizes that he's the one who's been wrong the whole time. Anyway, Reddit, I appreciate the feedback. I might just need it more than I thought. Update 2, the next day. Alright, so this just took a turn I wasn't prepared for. Yesterday's chaos, it was just the warm-up act. Now my company's PR manager, Jaden, is buzzing around like he's in a caffeine-fueled fever dream, and I'm realizing I'm just here to vibe approach to being a wedding caterer is officially over. To recap, after I sent the clear out text, I thought I could just disappear into the background like one of those anonymous food delivery people you only ever notice if they screw up. But no. Turns out I am as subtle as a wrecking ball. Carol, the wedding planner, is as smart as a whip. She put two and two together pretty quickly. After she saw my last name, she remembered me hanging around the venue earlier, looking way too businesslike for a regular guest. Then one of my pastry chefs, bless him, told another vendor that the boss seemed pretty upset earlier, and boom, that was it. Carol probably got to work doing her Sherlock thing, and well, by the time everything calmed down, my anonymity was shot. At this point, Avery, Jaden, and I had a little powwow. We weren't about to let my family spin this as random caterers bailing or some cheap stunt. No, we needed to get ahead of this before Martin and Cheryl made it sound like we just randomly dipped out for no reason. So, our company issued a statement. Very professional, very direct. It didn't name names, but made it clear that irreconcilable differences with the hosting family, including abusive and derogatory behavior towards our team, made continued service impossible. We even blacklisted Martin and Cheryl from future events. To make sure everyone knew we were still class acts, we offered a proto refund for services not rendered. I mean, we had to show we still had some semblance of grace, right? Carol told Avery that my dad flipped out when he realized who was behind the catering disaster. He had no idea I was the owner, and when he figured it out, he apparently lost his mind. Like, imagine if you learned your daughter was the one who intentionally torpedoed your precious little event. Yeah, it's a mess. I can only imagine how much worse it's going to get when he finds out I'm the one who pulled the plug. And then, of course, there's the whole social media circus. Jaden's been keeping tabs, and it's blowing up faster than we expected. Some of the guests are posting about the wedding caterer disaster, and one local blogger who's known for her biting commentary picked up on our statement. The drama, it's juicy. People are trying to guess who the representative was. And let's just say my family's reaction is well less than charming. Meanwhile, I'm holed up in my apartment trying to process everything. It feels like I'm in the calm before the storm, but in a good way. Like I just did something that most people would never have the guts to do. And it feels kind of badass. Avery and Khalil have been champs handling the calls and keeping our team in the loop. Our staff is surprisingly supportive, especially after hearing the gist of the insults that were thrown at me. Honestly, I'm getting a weird kick out of knowing that even my team thinks what I did was like good for business. Oh, and Jaden just forwarded me a post from a private Facebook group where Vanessa, the bride, is having a meltdown about her ruined wedding. She's blaming the unprofessional caterers and all the family drama she doesn't understand. It's pretty pathetic, but what really cracks me up is that some of Cheryl's friends are backing up her version of events, saying I sabotaged the wedding out of jealousy. My dad is definitely behind that narrative. So now I'm sitting here watching the whole thing unfold and wondering if I should just let it go or if it's time to turn up the heat. Should I leak more details about the years of insults about the things my family said to me that led up to this? Should I let people know the full story, or should I just let my bold actions speak for themselves? Part of me wants to spill all the tea because if they want to play dirty, I've got an entire plantation ready to go. It's honestly a little wild how quickly everything is snowballing. I'm not sure where this is going, but I think my family seriously underestimate me. Update 3, a few days later. So, it's been a few days and I got to say things are still blowing up. But instead of a slow burn, it feels more like an all-you-can-eat buffet of chaos with a side of petty. If you thought the last update was a wild ride, hold on to your hats because this is only getting better or worse, depending on how you look at it. So, here's the deal. Turns out staying quiet was a terrible idea. You guys were right. I thought I could just sit back, drop the official statement, and hope that would shut things down. But nope. Martin and Cheryl decided to play the victim card in the worst possible way and paint me as this unhinged villain who ruined their son's wedding. That wasn't going to fly. So, I called up Jaden, our social media wizard, and we hatched a plan. We didn't go full nuclear, but we dropped a few clarifying details to make sure people got the real story. Now, here's where it gets juicy. Jaden's cousin runs a gossip blog. Yeah, one of those trashy but surprisingly popular ones called Southwest Scandals. She's been pushing out posts about wedding mishaps, shady families, and all the drama that goes on in the Arizona high society scene. So, I'm not sure how it happened, but suddenly this cousin got an anonymous tip from a concerned source close to the caterer, which, okay, was us, about what went down right before the big wedding disaster. Apparently, Martin and Cheryl were the ones tossing around insults about me being some bus pass holding embarrassment just minutes before the whole thing fell apart. All of this got blasted out on the blog, and it was framed like a big old boss move against toxic family. Let me tell you, the reaction has been interesting. People love an underdog story, and nothing says underdog like an insulted caterer standing up to the rich, entitled family. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. The social media support has been insane. I've got new inquiries rolling in, and some folks are straight up saying they admire our zero-tolerance policy on BS. Even Jaden is practically vibrating with excitement over the brand engagement. He says our followers are through the roof. For once, I'm actually starting to enjoy all this attention. It feels like we're winning. Oh, and it gets better. Mrs. Linton, my mom's best friend who used to live next door to us back in Arizona, called me up cackling like a happy villain. She said, and I quote, "I'm not surprised Martin's chickens finally came home to roost like this." She then proceeded to tell me a bunch of hilarious stories about Cheryl's early attempts at social climbing. Let's just say Cheryl's reputation has always been a little, scrappy. Mrs. Linton was practically gloating, and I was here for it. Then, of course, there's the wedding disaster itself. Someone, thank God for smartphones and a good sense of humor, managed to capture the chaos. There's footage now circulating of guests staring at empty buffet tables while desperately picking at vending machine snacks. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, a mountain of pizza boxes shows up. The captions on TikTok and Instagram are savage. When the drama is spicier than the food that never came, and my personal favorite, my big fat empty wedding reception. The whole thing has become a local legend. The comments are a mix of LOL, that's insane, and people just shaking their heads in disbelief. But of course, Reed had to go and send me a message. It was long, rambling, and filled with a mix of hurt, confusion, and a sprinkle of why you do this to me. He mentioned how Vanessa was crying, her family was horrified, and how he couldn't understand why I'd ruined things for him. He even suggested, wait for it, that maybe I was jealous of his happiness. Now, that stung, not because I care about him being happy. He's always been a pretty passive guy, just goes with the flow, but because it shows how little he understands what's really going on here. He's the kind of guy who always takes the easy road, and the easy road has always been siding with Martin and Cheryl. So, no, Reed, I'm not jealous. I just refuse to tolerate your toxic family's behavior anymore. As for Martin and Cheryl, nothing. No angry voicemails, no screaming emails, just silence. And honestly, that's way more satisfying than any blow-up they could have thrown my way. They know they messed up. They got caught. And now the power has shifted. It's a nice feeling, to be honest. So, how am I doing in all this? Surprisingly well. I thought I'd feel guiltier about all the drama, but it's actually empowering. I stood up for myself. I didn't let them walk all over me, and my team, they've been incredible. Avery and Khalil have been handling the business side of things like pros, and the staff is treating me like I'm some kind of hero. I mean, they knew the gist of what went down, and they're all behind me. Now, Reed sent another message, and this is what prompted this update. He asked kind of meekly if there's any chance of fixing this. Apparently, Vanessa is having a hard time with the fallout, and her parents are pressuring Reed to make amends with me because the blacklisting is causing ripples in their social circle. Honestly, I feel for Vanessa. She's caught in the middle of all this. But the idea of engaging with Martin and Cheryl again, I can't stomach it. So now I'm left with this question. Should I try to smooth things over for Reed and Vanessa's sake, or should I just send them a ridiculously overpriced gourmet gift basket from my catering company, of course, because irony, and call it a day? What's the play here, Reddit? Final update a few weeks later. Hey peeps, it's been a couple of weeks, I guess, and it feels like I'm finally wrapping up this wild ride. Honestly, I'm not sure how things got this out of hand, but here we are. My catering company is somehow thriving thanks to the whole wedding fiasco, and the family drama has mostly fizzled out. Thank God. First off, Reed reached out again about fixing this. After mulling it over for a bit and reading your comments, seriously, thank you all for your advice. I decided I wasn't going to dive into any dramatic reconciliations. I shot Reed a brief email, basically saying I felt for Vanessa, but the issues were way deeper than a single wedding reception. I told him I wouldn't be re-engaging with Martin and Cheryl, and that chapter of my life was closed. I sent Vanessa a nice spa gift certificate. No sarcasm, no snark, just an honest gesture because in the end, she's just stuck in the middle of this mess. Reed replied with a cold, okay, understood. Not exactly a heartfelt apology, but what else could I expect? As for Martin and Cheryl, crickets. Honestly, I'm loving the silence. They're sitting there probably stewing, realizing the person they tried to belittle is now holding all the cards, literally and figuratively. Their attempt to embarrass me backfired in the most satisfying way possible. They thought they could make me the villain, but they just made themselves look like petty, entitled bullies. If karma had a logo, it would be a pizza box at a country club. On the business front, I have to admit, this whole disaster has turned into the best marketing stunt ever. Jaden, my SNS guru, deserves a medal. He turned the entire narrative into a story of empowerment, integrity, and standing up to toxic people. We cater for your events, not your abuse has become our unofficial slogan. We've had new clients rolling in, many saying they appreciate our non-nonsense approach and our strong values. We're even expanding to a second location in a ritzy area nearby. Sometimes you got to turn family drama into a booming business move. Right. Personally, I'm feeling a sense of relief I didn't think was possible. I didn't realize how much that toxic cloud had been hanging over me until it finally dissipated. Sure, there's a bit of sadness about what could have been with Reed, but at the end of the day, I've realized that I can't fix things when the other side isn't willing to own their part in the mess. My true support system has been my team, my friends, and even Mrs. Linton, who, by the way, is now officially my life coach. Speaking of Mrs. Linton, I took her out for brunch last weekend at this fancy place. We had a champagne toast to petty victories and to finally being able to live life on my terms. She thought the whole pizza at the country club bit was the funniest thing ever. Honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better way to close the chapter on all this. Looking back, I'll admit I caused a scene. I ruined a wedding. But you know what? I don't regret it. I drew a line in the sand, and for once, I didn't let anyone walk all over me. They wanted to diminish me, but instead I showed them that what they thought was nothing was actually the most powerful thing in the room. This wasn't about one night. It was about standing up for myself after years of being made to feel small. So yeah, the shameful daughter, the line cook with a bus pass, is doing better than ever. My company is growing. I'm at peace with my decisions, and honestly, my confidence has never been higher. Thank you, Reddit, for all the support and the wisdom. You all helped me get through this crazy time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a tasting menu to approve for a corporate client who specifically requested the non-nonsense caterer who doesn't suffer fools. Turns out integrity really is the best marketing strategy. Positive comments. I'm honestly so proud of you for sticking to your guns and not letting them walk all over you anymore. Your company is thriving and it's clear you've turned this whole mess into a massive win. You're the real MVP here, turning all that toxic energy into something productive. Your growth is inspiring and I love how you stood up for yourself even when it wasn't easy. Keep doing your thing. Negative comments. I get that you were wronged, but honestly, you kind of went too far with the wedding. Sure, your family sucks, but calling all that attention to yourself at their big day wasn't necessary. It could have been handled in a more mature way without causing such a scene. I get wanting to stand up for yourself, but I feel like you burned bridges here that could have been salvaged if you took the high road.